Thanks for coming. Welcome to this place. Thank you for turning on the mic. That's good. Welcome to this place of peace, justice, and hope. In this Unitarian Universalist congregation, we affirm no matter who you are, whom you love, or where you are on your journey, you are welcome here. For those of you who are joining us online, we're so glad you're with us. Hey, everybody, turn around and wave at the camera. It's up there on the wall. Hi, everybody. They'll be shocked. That'll wake them up. If you're visiting with us today, we do invite you to sign the visitor's book, which is back at the visitor's table in the living room. And if you would like to join us for coffee hour downstairs, do feel free to take a green mug so that we can be sure to greet you. Or if you don't want us to greet you, take another color, and then we won't. Also, members and friends, to help folks connect, please remember to wear your name tags with your pronoun stickers. And I am here to say I finally remembered to bring mine from the car. So I'm with it. So if you need a new name tag, please do, again, see the host at the visitor's table. I am Julia Beckman. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm pleased to be with you today as one of your worship leaders. The amazing group with me includes Carol Peterson, Paula Saget-Dvorak, and Beth Fahey, Beth, whom we are just welcoming to our UCH family. As you can see, our minister, Reverend Beth Johnson, is not with us today. She's away assisting in the installation of the Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray as the minister of the Bloomington, Indiana UU Church. She sends her regrets that she can't be here to honor our transgender siblings. Our music today, of course, will be provided by the inimitable Jamie Passman.
Oh, what?
I can't say it again, I'm sorry.
I think that was good, right?
Who is recovering from the tour de force of last Sunday, which we will never forget. We do recognize that individuals of all ages and abilities have different needs during the service. So in the living room at the back of the sanctuary, we provide a cart of fidgets and drawing supplies. No matter what age you are, if at any point you feel the need for movement, please feel free to get up, grab a fidget, engage in drawing, or stand or sit on the floor in the living room. There's also different types of seating available back there, and please do see a greeter for assistance if needed. May you each know you are welcome in this house of peace and justice, and may our worship this morning inspire you and touch your heart, mind, and spirit. Paula?
Good morning. My name is Paula. My pronouns are she and her, and I am a, medium height, white, middle-aged woman with chin-length brown hair. Sometimes we do these visual descriptions to help those who might have visual impairment to picture the person who is speaking. We acknowledge that we in the western suburbs inhabit areas that are the traditional territories of indigenous peoples. As people trying to live into a more just world, we have a responsibility to acknowledge the history and legacy of colonialism, the harm done to Native peoples, and also work to repair that harm. And if anyone noticed in the news this past week, there was a very, very small bit of harm that was repaired with some stolen land returned to some of the indigenous people in Illinois. So if you didn't get a chance to see that, I'm sure if you Google Illinois and indigenous land, it would come up. But that's a small bit of good news in that area.
Yes, that was really good news about it's the return of a state park in south central Illinois, and we can thank our governor for that. Here is the call to worship. This is a reading from Rabindranath Tagore, Where the Mind is Free. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, when knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, when words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, let my country awake. Let us worship together. Carol?
Good morning. My name is Carol Peterson. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a 30-something white person with long red hair, and I usually am wearing a hat and a skirt. Our chalice lighting words are by Jamie Yandel, the UUA Transgender Support Specialist. We light this flame to ignite the sacred power of justice. We light this flame so that it may be a beacon of hope in moments of uncertainty, fear, anxiety, and the unknown. We light this flame and are emboldened by its blaze, knowing our strength is a prophetic and powerful people and is rooted in the diverse ways we answer the call to love. Oh, I went too far. Pam can come up, please.
Good morning. I'm Pam Fodor, Director of Programs here at the church, and my pronouns are she, her. And the story I'm going to share with you today is I Am Me, a book of authenticity. There are things about me that make me different. Sometimes I stand out in a crowd. Sometimes I am not seen at all, and I feel alone. I start to ask myself, why can't I blend in? Fit the mold? Maybe I'm too little, or maybe too much. But when I stop and look, I see nothing in this world is exactly the same. Difference is what makes life beautiful and miraculous. And when I show who I truly am, I can find my joy, my spark. I have something to contribute. I can't hold back or hold it in. I am someone to be celebrated. I am me. I can have my own style and decide how I want to show up in the world. I can be grateful for my hair, my skin, my size, because they are all mine. I can be proud of my body and thankful for all it can do. I can embrace that I am perfectly imperfect because that is what makes me interesting. I can dance to my own rhythm anytime I want to move and groove. I can learn from others who express themselves with confidence, even when it's hard. I can be a role model for someone who is afraid to show their own true colors. I can celebrate the things in this world that I decide are most meaningful to me. I can love anyone I choose fully and completely with all my heart. I can notice that every creature, small and grand, has something unique and necessary. I can know that community, connection, and acceptance exist, and I will find them. I can surround myself with those who see me, stand up for me, and support me. I can be okay knowing not everyone will understand me because I have love for myself. I don't need to hide away, hold back, or compare myself to anyone else because I am me and I matter. You are you, and you matter. We are all just right. Beautiful and miraculous, exactly as we are. May it be so. Please join in singing us out to Ari.
There's always a lot going on around the church, and you can read all about it in News and Notes, which arrives in your inbox every Friday, and there are printed copies available. If you would like to receive News and Notes, stop by the welcoming desk. We do have a few announcements. There will be a vigil for Jose Gregorio Gonzalez on Monday, March 31st at 6 p.m. The background for this is on Monday, March 31st at 6 p.m., join family members, advocates, faith leaders, and elected officials for a vigil and press conference calling on the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to release Jose Gregorio Gonzalez, currently detained by ICE, on humanitarian parole. His brother, Jose Alfredo, is suffering from 100% kidney failure and depends on dialysis 3 times a week from 4 to 8 a.m. to survive. Jose Gregorio Gonzalez is willing to undergo the procedure to donate his kidney so that his brother can live. However, Jose's continued detention prevents this life-saving operation from happening. We gather in community and compassion to demand that Jose Gregorio Gonzalez be released immediately to save his brother's life. If you are interested in attending this vigil tomorrow, you can I'll put the email address back at the welcome desk for you to see. Today's new UU session has been canceled and will be rescheduled. This will allow anyone who is interested to join the Living Well Planning Ahead program following the service here in the sanctuary, featuring Noreen Costello, who will be presenting your legal choices. And again, this is part of the Living Well and Planning Ahead series. And if you didn't plan ahead and sign up, that's okay. Just let someone know after the service that you want to be part of it in the sanctuary. And then another announcement is before we take to the streets on April 5th, sign up for a mass call this Tuesday, April 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Move On, Public Citizen, Stand Up America, and national labor leaders. Hands off, mass call for mobilizing against Trump's power grab. And if you'd like more information about this, please also see us back at the visitor's desk.
Thanks, Paula. So today's service is all about honoring, it's the International Transgender Day of Recognition, which is tomorrow. So we chose today to recognize it here in our church. And the actual day started with a Facebook post. Like others, Rachel Crandall Crocker, who is the co-founder and executive director of Transgender Michigan, said she always remembered lost trans siblings on Transgender Day of Remembrance, which she describes as a very important day, and those are for all of those transgender people who have either taken themselves out of this world or have been killed. But yet, as appropriate as those remembrances were, and they still are, something else was brewing in the back of her mind when she was sitting on Facebook in 2009. Up until then, the only Transgender Day was the Day of Remembrance. She remembers, and she told Gay City News in a phone interview on March 27th, "I don't want to discount that. However, I wanted a day that we could celebrate the living. I wanted a day when we could come together as one community all over the world." So she came up with the idea herself. She created the International Transgender Day of Visibility to be observed on March 31st, and decided to spread the word by posting it on Facebook, and it spread like wildfire. So that now it really is international. Nations all over the world celebrate this day of transgender celebration. So for me, I have to confess that as a person of a certain age, I knew very little growing up about any variations for male, female. I just thought we were males and females. I've had to learn as times and awareness changed, and I hope I've adjusted. But as a UU, I am proud of the stance our church has taken to support and celebrate our LGBTQ+ community. For today's service, I chose to highlight one transgender person's journey. Her name is Sarah McBride. Her name may be familiar to you because in January 2025, she took her seat in Congress as the first declared transgendered Congresswoman, representing the at-large seat from Delaware. She has been championing the transgendered cause for many years, and I'm quoting heavily from the Wikipedia article about her significant achievements. McBride attended American University in Washington, D.C., where she earned a bachelor's degree in 2013. She was elected president of, and this is when she was still a male, she was elected president of the American University Student Government in 2011, having earlier worked on arts advocacy, get this, the purchase of conflict-free minerals on campus, that's an interesting advocacy, and academic regulations as she was a member of the undergraduate senate. But during this time, she had already begun political advocacy. She was a co-founder of Delaware's Young Democrats movement, and she worked on election campaigns for her good friend Beau Biden and President Biden. During her last week as student body president in 2012, McBride gained international attention when she came out as a transgender woman in her college's student newspaper, The Eagle. That took courage. Her coming out was featured on NPR, The Huffington Post, and by Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation. That's where she really made it. After coming out, McBride received a call from Delaware's Attorney General, Beau Biden, saying, "Sarah, I just wanted you to know I'm so proud of you. I love you, and you're still a part of the Biden family." Vice President Joe Biden expressed similar sentiments, sharing that he was proud of her and happy for her. After coming out, she became a very public spokesperson for LGBTQ+ rights. In April 2016, McBride delivered a TED Talk titled, quote, "Gender assigned to us at birth should not dictate who we are," unquote. She also served on the steering committee of Trans United for Hillary. And she became the first openly transgender person to address a national political convention when she addressed the 2016 Democratic Convention. Taking it a step further, she became the first in the nation transgender person to be elected to the Delaware State Senate in 2020, where she successfully sponsored paid family leave legislation. She wasn't a single issue person at all. Keeping the momentum going, she took advantage of an opening for the U.S. House in 2024. She was moving fast, where she again attained national fame, and she got elected. But it hasn't been all roses and positivity for her. 2 weeks after her election, you may have heard this, to Congress, Republican Representative Nancy Mace introduced a bill to ban transgender women from using the women's bathroom on Capitol Hill, saying that the bill specifically was meant for Sarah McBride. Shortly thereafter, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson enacted a ban to the same effect. McBride subsequently announced that she would comply with the ban, saying, I quote, "I'm not here to fight about bathrooms. I'm here to fight for Delawareans and to bring down costs facing families," unquote. That took courage. As if that weren't enough, on February 7th, 2025, Representative Mary Miller, who is sadly from Illinois, was presiding, and she introduced McBride as the gentleman from Delaware, Mr. McBride. Representative McBride continued her floor speech. She didn't acknowledge the comment. It was later corrected in the congressional record to the correctly gendered honorific. Then, on March 11th, 2025, in a hearing of the Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Europe, Chair Keith Selfs introduced McBride as the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride. McBride replied by thanking Self as Madam Chair. She got in her dig. Ranking member Bill Keating, who is a Democrat, interrupted and responded to Self, "Mr. Chairman, have you no decency?" Self repeated, "Mr. McBride," he said it again, and attempted to continue the hearing, but Keating stated, "You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way," unquote. Keating's absence, he left, and his absence meant it denied the hearing a quorum, so Self had to adjourn the hearing. During the exchange, Self said, "We have set the standard on the House floor," referring to the February incident. I admire Ms. McBride so much for her grit, courage, and intelligence, as well as her grace under fire, so to speak. Here's hoping her trailblazing will ease the path for those transgender men and women who follow her. Thanks.
I don't remember the first time that I learned about trans people. I know I must have. I don't remember if it was in elementary school or if it was in college or somewhere in between. After all, it didn't affect me. Who cared if someone else was a different gender than they were assigned at birth? So I moved on. I'm not sure when y'all have first learned about trans people. Hopefully it was before the service, but in case it wasn't, here's some quick education on trans people and trans identities. The biggest asterisk you've ever seen to say not everyone follows the same identities. There's lots of differences, but this is just one example and some generalities. First off, trans people have always existed. They may not have been called transgender. Transgender is the current preferred term in modern Western societies. And transgender means someone who does not necessarily agree with their assigned sex at birth. So when you're born, a doctor looks at you and goes, "It's a boy." And for around 1.5% of people in the US, that figure is very fluid, they disagree with that doctor. There's also 1% of people who are intersex, and they also disagree with that doctor, but that's a story for another time. Transgender is the umbrella term for the people who are not cisgender. Trans is a prefix that means different, and cis is a prefix that means the same. I had a whole spiel about how that works in food science, but I took it out. You can ask me later if you want to know. So while the gender binary is a little reductive, it is useful for these educational conversations. Many people transition from one gender to another, so female to male or male to female. There are other genders that fall under the transgender umbrella: non-binary, agender, and gender fluid, just to name a few. Someone doesn't need to transition to be transgender. Transitioning is a mostly outward expression of your gender. But if someone does transition, it's often in 3-ish stages: social, hormonal, and then medical or surgical. Depending upon a lot of factors, including income and age, the order of these may be a little different, but we'll go in this order for the ease of explanation. Many people start with social transitioning. This is changing your clothes, changing your hair, asking for a different name, or changing your pronouns, changing what's on your government ID when you can. This is, by the way, the extent of transition for children before puberty. Some children will have puberty blockers to prevent the puberty from occurring before the proper hormones can be administered, or until something else happens. Speaking of hormones are often the next step that someone takes in transitioning. This is when, if you're assigned male at birth and transitioning to female, you would take estrogen, and you would take testosterone blockers as well. And so you go through a kind of puberty. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos of trans men who, their first videos They just look like a little, 10-year-old boy, and then 6 years later, there's this big, beefy, muscly dude with a giant beard. That's functionally puberty. Some people also do elective surgery, anything from top surgery, which is a double mastectomy with some plastic surgery to be able to take your shirt off, to facial shaping or bottom surgery, which is what it sounds like. Very few minors will ever get this surgery unless it's deemed medically necessary by a doctor. If someone has come out to you or requested that you change the pronoun to refer to them, please respect it. And don't ask invasive questions about their bodies. After all, trans people have always existed and will always exist. Thank you. Please rise in body or spirit to sing hymn 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People.
So, I've been in front of you guys many times if you're not just visiting for the first time. I am a member of the worship team, and part of our job as the worship team is to be both worship associates and also at times to lead services. But I'm here today in a slightly different role. One of the things that I do the rest of the week is I am a therapist. I work in mental health. I work in private practice, and I see a wide variety of individuals. But one of the experiences that I have had over the course of my career is having training and working with transgender individuals. And so I want to speak to the mental health aspect of transgender individuals and how things can kind of impact them. Number one, because I think there's a ton of miscommunication around this issue right now. I think that there are a lot of people who wrongfully will label transgender people as, having a mental disorder or, needing therapy to change the way that they see themselves, right? Versus the fact that most transgender individuals need therapy because of how other people treat them. So if anyone is familiar with, raise your hand, the Trevor Project. Has anyone heard of that before? Excellent resource for all LGBTQ plus issues. They're just a great website. They have all sorts of resources, research, They have ways that you can reach out if you need help, if you're a transgender individual. And what I love about their website is when you go, it has a quick exit button. So if you click 3 times, it takes you away from the website, which is important for individuals who might be in a place that isn't safe for them. So the Trevor Project does research. They do surveys, and they look at LGBTQ plus issues in our country. And one of the things they looked at in 2024 were things such as like suicide rates, right? And rates of what we call suicidality, which is like thoughts of suicide and thoughts of self-harm. And one of the things that they have found, and this is kind of a consistent finding, is that unfortunately transgender individuals do have higher rates of both suicide, completed suicide, attempted suicide, and suicidal thoughts, and that they also just struggle with mental health more in general. But they found that gender-affirming practices, okay, and I'll get into what that is in a second, reduce those rates. So if you want to make a difference, if you want to save lives, literally save lives, embracing gender-affirming practices is shown via research to do that. It reduces rates of suicide. It reduces rates of mental health issues in transgender individuals. So what do I mean by gender-affirming practices? Things like gender-neutral bathrooms, right? So that people don't have to think about where they're going to go to the bathroom or contemplate whether someone's going to accost them in the bathroom. And this is better for everyone because, let's be honest, like, transgender or not everybody fits in with gender norms, right? Someone might not even identify as transgender, and someone might say, oh, you look like a man or you look like a woman, you shouldn't be in this bathroom. It's not anybody's business, right? So one of the ways we can reduce all of that stress is by having gender-neutral bathrooms available. And when that isn't a possibility, providing spaces that are deemed as safe, or just making sure that we have something in place for individuals who might be transgendered. Carol also mentioned non-binary, and there's lots of different terms. There's things like gender fluid, basically people who identify in different ways with their gender than what we typically, quote unquote, see. So that is one of the gender affirming practices. Other things are using the correct, I'm not going to say preferred pronouns. That's language that we use, but that feels like, okay, that's my preference. Like, you are calling the person what they are asking to be called, and that is the correct thing to call them, right? Like, we learned this in kindergarten, didn't we? Like, it's pretty basic. If I introduce myself and I tell you my name, that's what you call me, right? You don't try to like find my birth certificate and say like, oh no, that's not what's on here. I have a story. I had a great aunt, and I thought her name was Dolly her entire life. Like, everybody called her Dolly, Auntie Dolly. She got mail that said Dolly. Her name was Catherine. Nobody called her Catherine, and nobody cared. It didn't matter. And Dolly is not a nickname for Catherine, right? It didn't matter. She introduced herself as Dolly, so everyone called her that. So using the correct pronouns that the person gives you, and if you don't know someone's pronouns, it's okay to use they, them. I know in our congregation a lot of people are they're English nerds, let's put it that way, and they might struggle with the singular they, but it has existed for a long time, and we use it effortlessly in situations where we don't know a person's gender, right? When is the pizza coming? Oh, they're going to get here soon. We just do it without even thinking about it. So if you don't know someone's gender, you can use they, them pronouns until they let you know their pronouns, right? Or call them by their name that they introduced themselves with, right? That's all you have to do. It's very simple. And then we have gender-affirming care. And as Carol said, gender-affirming care can be lots of different things. Most people think of surgeries or hormonal care as a big part of that. But for a lot of the individuals that I'm working with, a lot of it is just what we call social transitioning, right? So it might be things like someone getting a haircut that fits, right, with their gender. So they might want to get a short haircut if they're a trans man, or they might want to grow their hair out long if they're a trans woman. It might be something like getting their nails done or learning how to do makeup, right? These are basic things that affirm for them their gender. And again, these are all life-saving things, because the more that we allow people to be who they are, right? Nobody's hurting anybody. It's not causing any harm. And the more that we allow people to be who they are, the more they flourish, right? And the more they are able to accomplish all the things that aren't related to gender that they want to accomplish in this world. So Sarah McBride is a wonderful example of that, of how much she has accomplished, right? And how much grit she has in becoming a representative for the United States as a trans woman. And when we give people this care and just basic decency, right? The basic decency that you would give anybody else in this world, we are allowing them to become who they truly are, and that allows them to flourish and to focus on other things other than just having to survive in this world. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Beth Fahey. I'm a new member here at UCH. My pronouns are she, her. So I want to begin by thanking all of you for the warm and loving welcome that you've extended to me and my daughter, Aiden. From the moment we walked into these doors, we've been seen, accepted, and embraced. That's no small thing. In fact, it's everything. My daughter's journey as a transgender woman has brought moments of deep beauty and deep heartbreak for her and for all of us who love her. One moment in particular will stay with me forever. Last summer, Aiden and I were plant shopping at a nearby home and garden supply store, just going about our day, shopping for flowers, when I noticed a man filming her on his phone. Not subtly, not accidentally, like she was some sort of curiosity in a zoo exhibit. My heart dropped, and then it broke. There have been other moments too, quiet ones that still cut deep, like when I hung a pride flag outside our house last June, and our neighbors who used to wave suddenly avoided eye contact, shielding their children as they walked past. Or when Aiden and I go into a public restroom together and I see the sideways glances and the judgmental stares. Those looks say everything, and what they say is cruel. It takes everything in me in those moments not to go full mother bear, because every one of those experiences chips away at something sacred, a person's right to simply exist in the world without fear, without shame. As a mom, seeing my child othered is devastating. But I also know that I must resist the urge to other those who treat her this way. That's the challenge, to hold on to my humanity when someone denies my daughter hers. That's why I speak openly about Aiden's gender. When someone asks, "How many children do you have?" I answer plainly and truthfully. 3. Aiden is my oldest daughter. She is a transgender woman and an illustrator. Erin is my middle child. She is a makeup artist. My youngest is Liam. He's a grip and works in television. I don't offer an explanation or an apology. I just say the truth with love, because truth, spoken plainly, helps normalize what has been unjustly marginalized. Here is what I wish more people understood. Every transgender person is somebody's child, somebody's grandchild, somebody's sibling. Their journey to live authentically isn't a solo trip. It's one the entire family goes on, if they're lucky, if they're supported. Not all are. That's why places like UCH matter so much. In a world that increasingly seeks to bully and erase this small, vulnerable community, just 1% of the population, Unitarian Church of Hinsdale stands as a safe haven, a place of dignity, a place where Aiden and I are not just tolerated, but loved. And I can't tell you what that means to us, truly. Thank you for being the kind of community that makes a mother's heart a little less heavy and a whole lot more hopeful.
Wow, talk about courage. My goodness. Yes, we are. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Oh, my goodness. Whew. Take a breath, as Reverend Beth would say. Let's all take a breath. And now we move into an important part of our service, our offering. We gather each week reminding ourselves of the power and beauty of community to heal our souls, open our minds, inspire us to action through the love that is at the center of our faith. Our financial contributions to this congregation allow us to continue to live into our vision of the beloved community here and in the wider world. We commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world. Now let there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. Please join in our offertory words. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with people around us, and with all the world. Thank you in advance for your contributions. Thank you, Jamie. That was beautiful, as always. There's several short readings to share with you. The first is by Harvey Fierstein, whom most of us have heard of, I'm sure. He says, "Never be bullied into silence. Never allow yourself to be made a victim. Accept no one's definition of your life. Define yourself." Another short reading by Wayne Arneson. "Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone." And here are some short quotes from transgender writers, and there are lots of them if you look them up on Google. There are a lot there. First is from Kai Cheng Tom, who is she and her are her pronouns, and she's a writer and facilitator. She says, "Those who have survived the unthinkable are also those who know how to create a better world, because it ended for us before." Another from Julian Jamaica Soto, whose pronouns are per or they, is a Unitarian Universalist minister and executive director of TRUST, which is the Trans-Unitarian Universalist Religious Professionals Together. I can't say that fast 3 times, but it's... And he says, "You aren't hard to love. Your existence is a blessing. Your pronouns, or if you don't use them, aren't a burden. You're a dream fulfilled." His quote was shorter than his title. And then from the final one from Scott Turner Schofield, who pronounces he and they. He's an Emmy-nominated actor and a creator of Becoming a Man in 127 Easy Steps. I got to read that book. His quote is, "After 25 years, the only regret I have about transitioning is that I couldn't live my truth as soon as I knew it, which was age 4. Love that. And now to extinguish our flame. Go this way.
Like we're dancing. Please join in the extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. Before we rise for our last song, which is also our closing music, here's the benediction. When we can truly celebrate the diversity of contributions and talents offered by all people, we shall overcome hatred and prejudice and oppression. When we can truly extend our hands to one another in loving acceptance, we shall overcome the past that haunts us now. Living in peace and freedom, we shall overcome the wrongs that have happened and the debts left unpaid. Let us join together in that commitment to overcome. We shall overcome. So please stand in body or spirit and join us in our final hymn, We Shall Overcome.
Our service is over. Now let's go out into the world and live in peace and do our best, but after we've had our coffee. See you downstairs.